I'm certainly up here to hear and learn from this esteemed group of panelists. Antonio, you want to intro yourself and go down the line?
Sure. Antonio Garcia, founder of Spindle. This crew, I think I can say, we're like the AppsFlyer of Web3, the attribution and measurement for Web3. We also have a referral and rewards program built onto it that we just announced that helps reward users based on real-life revenue. And yeah, trying to solve the measurement problem in Web3.
Hey guys, I'm Eric Zhang. I'm the founder of The Bakery, and also called 2.5 Intelligence. We build a lot of community management tools for various Web3 projects, DeFi. Our most popular products are our Discord bots. There are 16,000 Web3 Discord servers with a total membership of 25 million people. And The Bakery is kind of a new thing we built last year. It's a community. We got it from 0 to 60,000 Twitter followers in a week, all organic, non-botted, with paid influencers or any of that stuff. We built a really strong community around it. We had at our peak over 1,000 people that would show up to play up games concurrently within Discord. So I'm here to share a lot of lessons we learned building that community.
Hi, everybody. I don't know these people. So they're the awesome community of DeFi Kingdoms. I'm Dreamer, the president of Kingdom Studios, which is a development company for DeFi Kingdoms. If you haven't heard of us, you should go check us out at the Avalanche Gaming booth. We have a beautiful display there, 6 computers out to demo what we've been working on. DeFi Kingdoms launched about 2 years ago, initially gamifying a DEX. We then launched our Hero NFT lineup that has driven hundreds of millions of transactions of gameplay. On the Avalanche subnet alone, we were the first, and we're still the largest subnet there, 500 million transactions since launch. That's more than multiple L1 combined. So we're building some awesome things. Combat's coming out, and that's feeding into some really awesome traditional MMORPG gameplay. So come see that, meet our team, meet our awesome community.
Hey guys, Akshil Kim, founder of Hype Lab. We are a Web3 ad network. So on the one side, we work with advertisers who want to do user acquisition in Web3. And then of course, on the other side, we work with publishers, which are Web3 companies that want to monetize their users by showing ads to them.
Awesome. I guess let's start kind of high level. I'm curious to hear from each of you what advantages, if any, does the Web3 space provide you relative to Web2 in terms of user acquisition and growth? You may.
All right, so I'm like a Web2 ad tech DJ about crypto piddle and wanted to make Web3 go to a billion wallet. So how do I do it? I apply the skills that I know how to drive user acquisition. It's funny, everyone gets crypto shit for like carbon footprint and whatnot. The amount of wasted data and network stuff on the Web2 side, everyone's sending signals to each other in data. I always felt like, why don't you just use one database? Everyone write to that one and use that one. And that's one of the advantages of Web3. There is one database that the publisher can use to talk to the advertiser, talk to the game. And part of what we're building is exactly that. Like, how do you use the blockchain for the sake of understanding where your users are coming from, how they're monetizing, all that stuff. So I think the technological firmament of the blockchain is hugely helpful when it comes to that. So like, just pointing around here, like the Discord bot that sends a user in, we can measure the value of that or the ad, like everyone can talk to each other via the same blockchain. And that just makes it so much easier to actually build an ecosystem that kind of works to actually drive user growth.
Yeah, I think when we think Web3, we're really thinking of digital ownership. So Web3 gaming, what is the advantage of user acquisition for Web3 gaming? Not only is it the awesome reality that you can own your game assets, and as you play, if the game is built right, your assets appreciate. People want them more. Like in DeFi Kingdoms, your heroes level up, get stronger. Other people are going to want to buy those. Demand goes up. So that initial allure is attracted to people that have experienced the genre in Web2 and want to add on the layer of Web3. But I think it goes a step further. As new games come out, there's this idea of interoperability. A new game can look at an existing successful game and say, hey, we're going to add some functionality in new game A relative to existing game B. Now the users that like new game A are also going to be able to have some functionality in B. The existing users in the existing game, when they look at the new game, they're like, hey, my assets, my heroes, my pets, or whatever, can now have a new functionality in that other game. This changes the space for user acquisition. It's up to the builders, though, to be open-minded enough to do this. Because a lot of us were like, we're building the next biggest game in the whole entire world and we're going to crush everybody. That's a Web 2 mindset. Web 3 mindset really has to be more of a, we're all in this together. How do we think of this Ready Player One reality where multiple games can intersect and we share users, we add value to each other's users, so that when new people come in, they see the reality of that ecosystem of games.
Yeah. Woo! Bang!
Did you make a really good point about interoperability? With the deprecation of first-party cookies, there's going to be it's going to be really difficult for people to reach the right audience in order to promote their project, right? I think that using the wallet information, it kind of feels like a new Google sign-in as an example, right? We can know a bunch of things about a person's on-chain activities. We know, whether someone plays Web3 games, what kind of games they play, whether someone owns NFTs, what type of NFTs they own. We know whether they use a DeFi protocol. We know whether they've done swaps, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We also know the value of their wallet and what kind of assets they own. And all of these are extremely valuable information that you can use in order to personalize the most relevant kind of ads and content and information for these people. And you just have to find the right place to distribute this content to them. And it actually creates a much better experience. Even running, running ads or running information to these people. And it's a much better experience than Web2.
Yeah, I think that's something that's going to apply to the ad space, but you can also apply it to the gamer experience. So imagine if somebody has a crypto unicorn and they're in DeFi kingdoms and a little quest pops up and says, hey, we've identified that you have this supported third-party game asset. You now have access to this unique quest. So not only is it the advertising to bring people in, but the experience can change relative to what's in your wallet.
Yeah, I think our one of the best things about this panel is that we have a lot of great different perspectives on how to do user acquisition and growth within Web3. So I'm going to come in with a very different opinion that might be a little bit controversial. One of the greatest things about crypto in general is how innovative the Ponzi's have gotten within crypto. There's a lot of unscrupulous people out there doing all sorts of new money games. I like to joke that if Bernie Madoff didn't get arrested, he would be disrupting, people would be pulling their money out of his fund and staking it into some shitcoin or something. And I mention that because one of the things that truly has innovated in Web3 is money games, Ponzi's, whatever. People don't like them, but they don't have to be applied just to fraud and scamming people out of their money. I think when you're thinking about user acquisition, you can also think about taking some of those innovative elements of Ponzi's and applying it, whether it's just to an in-game asset, points, something that's not actually money. You can use those to devise new strategies that you actually haven't seen in Web2. So that's a lot of what I think about when I think about how you growth hack in Web3.
So from the perspective of, if you're giving advice to another founder in this space, what channels are you telling people to focus on?
I think one of the most important things that people obviously talk a lot about is community. And community is one of the things that is pretty differentiated, in my opinion, within Web3. There's community in various elements in Web2 as well, but assets, ownership really differentiate what drives the togetherness of that community. And I think one way to really look at community is it's one way to convert your top of funnel. And I know these guys know a lot more about that, how to really reach that top of funnel. So you always need to take advantage of the ability of Web3 to draw and hold together a strong community.
I think that the word community is used a lot, for sure. We like to think of them as stakeholders because Web3 introduces ownership, right? So if somebody's in the community and they're active in the game or protocol, they also have right to kind of the decisions being made, to at least have transparency, to maybe have decision-making, governance, maybe even fee sharing and other things, right? So engaging players from a game perspective is super important. We have weekly AMAs to try to be as transparent as possible. We try to share some bits of that roadmap. Relative to user acquisition, if you're acquiring users and they don't have a welcoming community that's going to be celebrating the growth and answering questions and making it a fun space, it's going to be really hard to grow. You know, some games, I love League of Legends, and every time I go back to play, I have to mute all the chat because people make me feel bad. You know, I don't want a community where people are just at each other's throats, fighting or attacking. We need a fact-based, transparent team that makes the community trust that team, trust each other, and then welcome in the new players.
Yeah, you got it, baby. I mean, that's certainly something that we've experienced. Obviously, the DAO that we run is one of the most active in the space, and we're letting players make legitimate decisions that are very impactful in making changes to the game economy and things of that nature. But like, I want to push on this a little bit because everybody talked about community, and Dreamer, to your point, it is a little overused. Like, we're in a bear market, you can't snap your fingers and have 50,000 people in the Discord, right? So like, in terms of actual growth, what are some channels that you guys have been using to even onboard people into the kind of top of the funnel of just, hey, you're part of the community now, you're in Discord, right? Like, where are you going out to find new players or new community members?
So I think for any companies and any project, they need to always be using a diverse set of channels. And all of these channels have different purposes and different goals, right? So there's brand awareness or performance marketing. There's burst campaigns or new exposure campaigns or re-engagement campaigns, and the list goes on, right? But I think the ultimate thing is that you need to be where your users are. And yes, there will be that user who is spending 24 hours in a Discord channel replying to every single thing. This person never sleeps and they're a fanatic, right? You have that kind of people. But you can't assume that every single one of your users and even your potential future users are going to fit that profile, right? And so the question is, like, how do you get in front of where these guys are actually spending time, right? And for us at HypeLab, we think a lot about this. And what we've decided was that a lot of these people are spending time in depths. They're spending time in websites. They're spending time in games. So, we've built a pretty robust publisher network where, we partnered up with a bunch of these publishers, games, dApps, websites, etc., right? And we're able to kind of show ads to them in these properties. And, for us, this has been, really great in terms of helping a lot of advertisers get in front of these like Web3 users. And in many cases, because of the on-chain data, we're able to kind of know their like whether this one wallet has moved from this one property to another, and we're able to do all sorts of retargeting or various kind of user acquisition campaigns to that. So, yeah.
Oh, I want to toss in one more channel that I feel like is often overlooked. There's many different options with topic channel, influencers, advertising. They're all great forms of doing that. Building community is obviously important. I think another very valuable channel that many projects overlook is alpha groups. So there's a lot of trader alpha groups in pretty much any corner of crypto, and they not only are a good source of just getting a word out, a more captive audience. If you can build that relationship, they can also really increase your brand's image, right? Because if you just go to an influencer who is known to just do paid promotions, that decreases your brand image, even if you do get some top of funnel users. But if you're in a exclusive alpha group and maybe you do an AMA with them or otherwise get involved, that can increase your brand's image. And the value of that can actually exceed just the fundamental numbers of how many users you acquire. I guess attribution would be important in that case.
It feels like we're almost prepared for this. So yeah, so on the influencer front, so I don't have opinions, I just have data, but we just did a case study on Twitter influencers. So it was DeFi, not gaming. But basically, they use our little tracking links, they post the thing, they produce 0 conversions, not any on-chain transactions whatsoever. I don't think that's globally true, but in the case of these influencers, definitely was. Conversely, in Quest, we used to know them in offer walls 10 years ago in gaming. Remember offer walls back in the day? We did a measurement study with layer 3, totally worked actually. Trying to convince people to come, and again, it was DeFi, not gaming, but hey, take a look at the protocol, see how it's like, transfer some money, make it work. 2x ROAS, which is better than what you would get on your average Facebook campaign these days. And so I think, obviously I'm talking my own back here, but as you start measuring things, I think a lot of these channels are going to get a lot more optimized and a lot better at actually drawing users.
I think if we imagine this room is Web3 and it's just blank, and all the builders are going to try to track the people walking into this room to their games or their protocol. There's two pieces here. One is the obvious one. If we want users, there has to be something worth coming into the room for. We have to build things that are fun. We have to build things that add value to people's lives. And crypto is really seeing a lot of these kind of ups and downs. Introduction of DeFi Summer. It showed people that they can take control of their finances, and it kind of went the direction that it went, but it was something new. The gaming space, we need to introduce something new where we really push the boundaries of the technology to enhance a gaming experience. However, we need to get people into the room to even consider that. And I think the barrier to entries are so high to understand how to move fiat money into digital currency, how to bridge it, what is a wallet, how come I have to do all these transactions that are cumbersome? We have a lot of work to do as a space for users to be acquired that are just trying to get into the room. If they're trying to get into here, you got to go in a tunnel and then climb a ladder and then jump off a cliff into water to get into the room. We're going to lose a lot of interest quickly. So that comes down to how quickly can you onboard a user with a wallet that is a very quick sign up that's still safe. How can we put transactions more as an afterthought, and working with MetaMask and all these other larger wallets to have prepaid gas to kind of be flowing in the background? How do we introduce like achievements and things and make a lot of things more fun in the wallets? That's really what we need to get to as builders in the space to even attract people in the room, as well as have something at value once they're in.
Yeah. Woo.
The dreamer speaks the truth.
Yeah.
Dreamer speaks the truth. I mean, I think it's interesting, right? You highlight the enormous friction that the space has. And so a question kind of back to the group is, especially in the bear market, how much do you put effort into focusing on people who are already red-pilled crypto natives, right? And you're just smoothing that on-ramp for them? Or are you really trying in the current market to go after what I would consider to be crypto newbies? I'm curious whether anyone thinks that there's a strategy right now to bring normies into the space, or are you focused on smoothing the on-ramp for crypto natives?
You're looking right at me. So I'll answer. I apologize if I'm talking too much, but excited about this topic. Well, our strategy is to have something for both, right? So DeFi Kingdoms, it gamifies a lot of crypto. It makes it more fun, more beautiful, and easier to understand. So if you already are red pilled, if you're already in the room, it's something a little bit different, or easier to understand or fun. For those that are trying to come in, again, the onboarding and education piece is through a game. Some people like games. Some people in their 30s and 40s, there's a lot of nostalgia from it. And you get to learn, and you get to manage your finances, and you get to play a fun game that you own your assets. These are the type of things that we need to be building and focusing on that cater to not only crypto enthusiasts, but those that are yet to be crypto enthusiasts. Because we don't just want players, we want mass adoption of Web3 through all these different avenues of finance, of advertising, of all the data that is stored, as well as gameplay.
I take like a first principles look at this problem of how do we get Web2 users into Web3? How do we focus more on Web2 users? There's a reason why people like to do Web3, right? These Web3 degens, Web3 natives, they keep coming back, they keep participating in Web3 because they get a dopamine hit when certain things happen. Their asset value increases in price, they get an airdrop, they get mentioned on Twitter or something. And I think attracting Web2 users is all about emulating that same dopamine hit in a non-wallet, non-go get some ETH to pay gas sort of way. So think about the experience you're delivering. When would a Web3 native user feel most excited, and figure out how you can deliver that same excitement without all of the friction from the Web3 side of it.
Now we get to the somewhat timely question, given the SEC's shit this week. What role do tokens play in user acquisition in this space? Specifically fungible tokens.
What role do tokens play in the user acquisition? So, there's a lot of interest for people that say, oh, we're launching a new token, and then they say, this token resembles a very awesome game, or at least a roadmap for a game to be built. And there's a way that I could be a stakeholder in this, have ownership, and maybe it'll be worth something. A lot of people get distracted here though, and they get overhyped or they get pre-sold or whitelisted, and then there's an ICO and there's a lot of price action and everybody's really excited about it. But behind the scenes, there's not enough time and maybe not enough focus on some things to actually build what people are excited about. So I think that the bull markets, they do a lot of things that are good, but some things that are bad is you kind of introduce this expectation of a microwave generation. You pay for something, you want immediate return, you want some things to 10x, you want all of this return, but if that is based on things to be built, time has to pass. We have to have transparency. We have to have, efforts to fail and get it right and collaborate with others. And I don't think that patience is there with how tokenization has been viewed so far by some people in the community. So to some projects, it's very important. To others, it's a means to an end to actually have the token represent ownership and increased utility over time. Now that becomes very attractive because as an owner of the token that is fungible, if it's getting more valuable, not because people are excited or hyped up about things that might happen, but things that are being released every week, month, or year that make my token more valuable, now it becomes attractive to hold this token, whether I am actively using it or others, because there's building happening in the background that make it more valuable.
Yep. No, I think that's a really good point. And to put it even more frankly, for those of you thinking about user acquisition, a token is a very irreversible thing to do. If you put a token out there and the price doesn't go up, you will lose your attention, engagement, and community. When new users come, they will check your token price, and if it's not high, they're going to write you off. So you have to be very careful if you're thinking about a token. And the way I look at it, a token is not for your 0 to 1 project, right? If you have 200 Twitter followers, you shouldn't even, take the $ key out of your keyboard or something. Tokens are for like 1 to 10. You have to get somewhere to build a product. You have to actually have something offered before you should really be thinking about token incentivization. And it's something to be very careful about. Obviously, there's a lot of regulatory challenges that are increasing. If you're a US-based company, we shouldn't be talking about tokens. But beyond that, I think there's a lot of ability to take advantage of the excitement around tokens without launching a token. This is something we did a lot at the bakery that we had a lot of experience with. If you go on Twitter and you put a $ behind any, couple letters, people will assume that you are doing a token in an airdrop. And you can definitely take advantage of that to get engagement, get an audience, and then tell them you're not doing an airdrop. And I think that's okay. So don't feel like to participate in crypto or participate in the types of marketing around tokens, you have to admit and actually launch a token, because that's a very irreversible, very dangerous thing to do.
Double clicking on that, I mean, the timing is certainly everything. The days of being able to raise a shitload off of the white paper are certainly gone, and providing immediate use and utility is absolutely necessary in my mind for anyone thinking about listing a token, whether it's fungible or even non-fungible, for sure.
Well, I think, and I know we've said it, kind of repeated it, but if there is utility planned and present at launch and it grows, that's very different than what people refer to like as a meme coin. You're just launching a coin that maybe is really supposed to act like a stock, and people just like it because they like your brand or your company or things that you might build. That's where the danger is, for sure. If you are trying to use blockchain technology to add functionality to a game or advertising experience or finances or others, I think that the area gets a little more gray, and we're trying to see where regulators land on all this. But the safety is really in the functionality linked to these tokens that are exchangeable. What is the purpose? What is the user's desire? Is it just to get it so it goes up? Or is it get it to do something related to a community or a game or an overall environment?
Yeah, utility. Let's go.
I don't think it gets talked about enough. Like in Web2, right, you go to Facebook predominantly, you spend money on Facebook to get eyeballs. That money, that value flows to Zuckerberg and Facebook shareholders, right? In Web3, one of the things that I'm fascinated by that we're really trying on the Crypto Unicorns front is, hey, here is an asset that has real value, and you can try our game and play it. And if you don't like it, it's $20 to you, right? And so the idea that the value flow can start to cut through the traditional kind of middlemen in these advertising platforms and actually say, hey, Antonio, come try our game. If you don't like it, it's $20, right? I think is a really is something that we're not talking enough about in the space, and it's really one of our advantages because I can actually hand direct value to a player and embed further value if they're willing to come in and actually progress in the game experience and things of that nature. About 10 minutes. Ooh, here's a good one. I'm curious, looking out 2-3 years, what is a Web3 native ad network going to look like? This is teed up for you, Joe.
I think in the short term, what makes a lot of sense just for the purposes of expediency and also execution and also getting scale is that I think, in the short term, a lot of these Web3 ad networks will look pretty centralized, but will adopt a lot of Web3-ish kind of concepts, right? So we're talking about things like payments in crypto, right? You take payment from advertisers in crypto, you pay out publishers in crypto. We're talking about asset storage in IPFS. We're talking about using on-chain data in order to know more about your users and being able to serve more personalized ads to them. Things like that, right? And I think that's going to be kind of the first step in getting to a more kind of Web3 native ad network. In the longer term, I think that native Web3 ad network can really take advantage of the unique aspects of Web3. So I'm talking about things like trust or accountability or transparency or ownership, things like that. So perhaps you have users who are able to indicate via NFT ownership what kind of ads that they want to be served or not served, right? That could be something in the future. We have accountable measurement, right? Because you're able to look at things on chain, and this is transparent, and there's checks and balances against that. Perhaps you're sharing the economics by giving ownership to the end user who actually looks at an ad. In today's world, Aaron, I think you mentioned an advertiser spends money and Zuck makes all the money, right? And the end user, you're just basically being used as a piece in the chessboard, right? And even though you're the one that's really providing the money, you don't get any of the economics, you don't share in any of that. Perhaps there's a way to kind of give, maybe through tokens, some type of economics, in this sense, right? So I think, I don't know when this is going to be, but in the short term, we'll see things evolving a little bit more centralized, and then one by one, step by step, I think it'll start to become more decentralized in the future.
I'd like to hear from you, Antonio, as someone who's built ad networks that, you may have heard of Facebook and Apple, and, these tiny companies.
Yeah, we've been thinking about this a lot. I mean, it extends a little bit what Joe said, which is what would the Uniswap of user growth look like? What would that look like? A center place of exchange where people who are looking to grow their users and people who have users who are opting into value exchange. What does that look like, right? I think it looks a little bit like what we've got now, which is on the buy side, you've got a smart contract that says, hey, I'm trying to reach this sort of user. I want them to do this sort of action on this protocol. I'm going to pay this much, and that just exists on chain in a very composable and transparent way. And then on the publisher side, and publisher means everything from questing platforms, consumer apps, games, bridges, anything where there's human attention, right? That goes on chain and says, hey, we've got this sort of user, we're willing to accept this is the ad format. And someone comes in between and actually crosses those two and crosses the advertiser with the publisher. And to Joe's point, it's very transparent, it's very open. And for the first time, you could do something you could never do in Web 2, which is that everyone gets a cut, right? The user gets a little bit of a bonus from it. The publisher gets something, the ad network gets something, hopefully the attribution system gets something, and then the advertiser gets a real monetizing user out of it. And you could never do that. You could never really have multi-touch, multi-payout ad systems in Web 2. I worked in attribution and ads for 10 plus years. That whole system just exists to tell you whether you pay Facebook or Google at the end of the day. That's the only thing that it tells you, right? It's not really attribution in the sense of how did this happen? In Web 3, you can actually build something where if you're an influencer and you actually, drive real usage, you can get paid for that. If you're a publisher, you can also get paid for that, right? And again, it can be done in a very open, permissionless, and open way. That's very Web3 native, and not at all the Facebook world where this big octopus company takes 90% of the value off the table.
And if you're a game, you can get paid for it.
any of your games are before.
So I mean, like, imagine if there's a player, if I'm understanding this correctly, a player sitting there and, you know, they can either bring money in on an on-ramp, they could bridge some in, or they could go watch a related ad. So it's a web-based game. The ad could be like a computer or a monitor or a hard wallet, something that adds value to the user. Maybe it's education. Maybe it's something related to DeFi or safety or regulation that somebody's paying for. What they're paying for the ad, part of that can go to the player in the game tokens of the game that they're playing, that they're seeing the ad on. Now, nobody likes pop-ups, but people love choice. So having the choice to be like, I'm going to go make some extra tokens so I can go fishing or go fight others or do anything else in the game and educate myself or see something that's relevant to me. I think the future of advertising could be something that is less in your face and really value additive, especially for gamers.
I couldn't agree more, honestly. I think we're not, we were obviously games focused and like, that's a big deal, but I mean, what is it, $500 billion a year in advertising spent, right? And I think NFTs have this, digital collectibles, whatever the hell the word is now, have this potential to reimagine that. Because again, it allows all the participants to get value out of it versus just Zuckerberg. In the last 5 minutes, any growth hacks or tips for the audience? Things that have worked for any of you or you've seen work with projects you've partnered with?
I do growth hacks all day, so I have a lot of growth hacks, but I'll tell you about one of the funner ones. I'm not really a Web3 native. My marketing guys are Web3 native, but I've learned a lot from them. And I think, I'm assuming some of you guys are like building projects, games, whatever, and you want to do more user acquisition. And I think early stage user acquisition is obviously very different from some of these guys here who are more at scale and you need to grow at a much larger scale. But if you find yourself early stage, I think one of the most important things to understand is exclusivity. I think a lot of people assume that like, well, nobody's paying attention to my project. It's brand new. So I have nothing exclusive to offer them. If I tell them, oh, here's my NFT, there's only 10 of them. No one's going to care. I think it's important to shift that thinking a little bit. Everyone has exclusivity. You can actually create exclusivity very easily. And exclusivity really drives desire in Web3. Everybody wants exclusive things, right? That's why the whole NFT space works. A great example that we came up with, I thought this was a stupid idea. We did it just because I trust those guys, but I thought this was such a stupid idea. We built this button on Discord, and the button was, first it was called the 25, and the first 25 people that clicked that button got a Discord role. They were the 25, and then the number one higher became 50. The next 50 people that clicked it got the 50, and then it became like 100, 500, 1,000. And basically, the earlier you click this button, the more exclusive the Discord role you got was. We didn't tell anybody like, oh, there's utility for this role. We explained nothing. This was when we had like a couple hundred people on our Discord server. So we built this button, and the sooner you click it, the better the role you got. And you don't know what the role does. You don't know if there's any value to any of this. And the whole point of that was we created exclusivity out of thin air where we had no value to offer people. And what happened was people took that and they shared it with their friends because they were like, look, I don't know what this does. Maybe nothing, but click the button, get your role, and maybe it'll be something in the future. So that was a great example of something that surprised me because I feel like in Web2, there's nobody would care. But in Web3, people search for that alpha. They look to be early. They look for those opportunities to discover something that others haven't discovered. If your Twitter has 10,000 people, a lot of alpha groups won't even mention it because you know what? We're too late. People already discovered this. The fact that you're small and don't have any attention can be viewed very positively, and you need to use that to your advantage by positioning yourself as exclusive and thinking through what can you offer that might be that might enhance that perception. So that's one quick growth hack that I learned a lot from early on.
One thing I'd add is the people around us. You know, oftentimes we come to these conventions to see who we can work with, but we're like being approached by people that would be providing a service in exchange for something that we need, like RPCs or hardware or bridging solutions. But look at our competitors. Our competitors in this space can be our best friends. A growth hack, if somebody's new and they have a good idea, a new game, a good protocol, rather than trying to overtake those and kind of compete with them, see how we can work together, how we can collaborate. There is so much room for collaboration in this space. We are not anywhere near the point of needing to take anybody out to grow. So anybody out there that has something new and wants a growth hack, remove the competitive nature of putting other people below your success and make your success theirs. And hopefully they'll make their success yours. Come to these conferences to talk with other games, talk with competitors, and see how we can team up to make the space better. I think that is an incredible hack to grow, especially in this space where a lot of us are afraid to give up our users, our time, and our IP.
This isn't really a hack, but I would say two things. One is test anything, right? Test anything, try anything at least once and see if that channel works. And then number two is be early. You're going to see a lot of companies, especially in the growth space, the user acquisition space, et cetera, they're incentivized to make your campaigns work. They're incentivized to make you successful, right? Because they're early as well. So if you are also early, like you're getting the full kind of the VIP experience. So I do think that is a growth hack in some sense.
Antonio, anything to add, sir?
Dude, I'm just here to measure stuff.
Well, excellent. Thanks everyone for attending and hearing us out.
Yeah! Dreamer! Baby! The best day ever! All right, guys, let it squat out. Peace.